The most informed generation of all time is utterly confused about its life goals, and the older generations can't seem to digest this absurdity. Certain questions are supposed to get easier as you age. At 15, not knowing what you want to do is expected. At 20, it is normal. By 25, society expects the answers to start arriving. But for a large number of young adults, the opposite is happening. They have more options and more information than any generation before them, yet they are becoming less sure of their path as they get older. This creates a palpable tension at family gatherings. In every dinner and every phone call, parents are waiting for these newly formed adults to articulate a definitive plan. And the answer they get, "I'm still figuring it out," is starting to sound like a destination itself. Many observers take this as a sign of a generational flaw. They see a lack of drive, a lack of focus, or a general fear of committing to anything real. But that assumption overlooks a deeper structural shift. The internal machinery human beings have used for centuries to find their place is struggling to find traction in a modern world it wasn't designed for. We learn what to want by watching the people a few steps ahead of us. This is the psychological mechanism of mimetic desire, the idea that our goals aren't formed in a vacuum, but by imitation. For past generations, this worked because adults maintained the performance of having it all together. Even if they weren't actually happy, the facade was convincing enough to give the younger generation a clear direction to move toward. That facade has cracked. Millennials are now openly questioning the traditional blueprint, publicly admitting that following the rules didn't deliver the fulfillment they were promised. On paper, the blueprint worked. Millennials are more educated and have a higher median net worth than their parents did at the same age. But those gains are offset by realities the previous generation didn't face: higher debt and lower rates of homeownership and marriage. When the people who did everything right are visibly struggling, the generation watching them lose the mental image of a future that makes today's sacrifices feel worth it. Today's standards for a life path are higher than ever. 89. Even if an interest survives this information overload, long-term commitment faces a different problem. The environment itself is no longer stable. Making a 5-year plan is difficult when half the jobs and digital platforms we use today didn't even exist 5 years ago. Planning for the future now requires predicting a world that reinvents itself every few months. This instability has a measurable effect. 55% of young adults have delayed major life decisions entirely, including their careers, their relationships, and when to start a family. Long-term planning requires a predictable world. In a landscape this volatile, the refusal to lock into a 40-year plan becomes a necessary strategy for remaining mobile. Because forever is no longer a reliable promise, young adults have moved to a new operating system. They are living their lives in a series of temporary phases. This "for now" mindset applies to everything. For now, this job. For now, this city. For now, this version of myself. Everything is approached with the knowledge that it likely has an expiry date. Most of the world treats this indecision as a crisis to be solved by the right internship or a wiser mentor. But the social and economic predictability that allowed past generations to feel secure in a single lifelong trajectory has vanished. The world is asking for a level of confidence that the current environment simply doesn't support. Instead of following a pre-drawn map, people are building their lives one modular block at a time, prioritizing agility over a rigid destination. When you stack a decade of these honest, temporary choices together, they eventually reveal the shape of a life. In a world where the future is impossible to predict, still figuring it out might be the only plan that actually functions.